Nigel Slater, writing in The Guardian in 2014. By this point, a Manx Shearwater is paying me more attention than Carolyn, concentrating hard on her slopping cup of tepid coffee. I explain earnestly, as the sea tosses us so vigorously that people around us flee for the lounge, that I'm going to change this, to yank the British breakfast out of its cosy niche as a cultural artefact and examine it as a living culinary tradition. Historic, yes, but still evolving. I'll give it the same loving attention that I lavished on the French stuff, explore why this meal has come to define us, what's behind the famous regional differences, and whether they still exist now every cafe in London offers porridge, and of course, establish once and for all what makes a perfect fry-up. Naturally, I'll visit all 4 home nations in my quest, and leave no stone unturned and no cuppa undrunk in pursuit of this noble goal. For what better way, I say, with a flourish that sends thick orange tea flying over the rail, to see the UK than through the prism of the one thing we all have in common, a love of breakfast. Probably I'll get an OBE or something, for services to my country. I'd like to say Carolyn is as excited as me to be there at the moment of revelation, but actually she just jams her woolly hat down further over her ears and says she's going back inside for a nap. The more I think about the idea as I cycle east from Ullapool that afternoon in search of a railway station, the better it seems. For all our cakes and buns and comforting stews, our pies and potatoes and mad fixation with putting everything and anything on toast, Britain is a country that runs on breakfast. And though we may abuse, neglect and generally take this glittering gem in our modest culinary crown for granted, a truly great breakfast is more complex than it looks. Having investigated the best way to prepare porridge, to make kedgeree, even to fry the perfect egg in my Guardian cookery column over the years, I should know. Occasionally, commenters online will tartly inquire, under some recipe they deem insufficiently sophisticated, what next, perfect toast? And I always think, yes, if my editors would allow me, I think I could write a lot about toast. The ideal thickness, staleness, degree of heat, how sourdough demands a different treatment to a soft white bloomer perhaps, or why you should double, if not triple, cook a crumpet. In fact, I have quite a lot to say about toast, and butter, and jam too, and an inexhaustible appetite for finding out even more. Who on earth invented those conveyor belt toasters you get in hotels, for example, and can they be held accountable? This, in fact, is surely the task I was born for, because if there's no better way to see Britain than through its breakfasts, there's no better way to see anywhere than by bike. As I discovered in France, it's a conveyance uniquely suited to nosiness, a mode of transport slow enough to reveal the little details, but fast enough for the traveller to notice them changing. A cyclist can cover more ground than a walker while remaining equally flexible, and like in a car, you don't need to do a handbrake turn to find a parking space when you spot a promising-looking bakery. You can just stop and lean your handlebars annoyingly against the window. Best of all, pushing those pedals around gives you a large and often completely baseless appetite, which I sense will come in useful. Back in London, as the Scottish windburn on my face fades to a mere cheery blush, I waste no time in getting started on a book proposal, watched over by an inspirational quote from the late great A. A. Gill, scrawled on a sticky note that is to remain on my wall for 2 years. Breakfast is everything. The beginning, the first thing. It is the mouthful that is the commitment to a new day, a continuing life. It's also, I realise, as I try to get across the importance of my great idea without coming across as genuinely unhinged, the one thing that truly unites this fractured country. However we vote, whichever team we support, and even if we rarely actually eat before noon, we're an island of breakfast worshippers next to a continent largely content with a coffee and a pastry on the hoof. I exaggerate, of course. Why, the doughty Dutch like to start the day with bread and chocolate sprinkles, but truly nothing brings Britons together like arguing about baked beans or slagging off a badly cooked egg. Witness the Fry-Up Police, an account dedicated to rating other people's breakfasts, boasting 75,400 followers on Instagram, which is significantly more than the churches of England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales put together. Sample comment on a plate of eggs, bacon and undercooked crumpets. There should be a list for people like you that have to report to the police every other week and that you have to tell people in your street you're a fry-up molester and you should be court-ordered to never do this again or face 25 to life in England's worst prison. While I'm not saying breakfast is a national religion, my mum might read this, for a start, I might go as far as to call it a cult. Our devotion certainly borders on the fanatical. The comedian David Baddiel was astonished by the strength of people's reactions when he began posting pictures of the breakfasts he ate on tour. One particular fry-up in Doncaster, featuring beans in a little cup of toasted bread and a tomato cut like a coronet, got a lot of weird political hate. People, as ever...